Hey, what's up everyone? Hope your day's going well. Welcome back to the College Hoops 2K Legacy Mode series featuring the legendary Coach Carter and Fordham Rams basketball. So back in the first installment of this series, Ken Carter made the move to the Big Apple. We also had our first handshake with this rotation and team during the annual Midnight Madness scrimmage. But today we won't be discussing the current players, but more so the potential Fordham Rams over the coming years, as I welcome you to the prospect preview show for the first season of Ram Hoops. Before we start our overview on what players are potentially coming in, let's take a look on who's going out. There's going to be a lot of new faces on campus over the next 2 seasons, with 4 juniors and 5 seniors on this team. That means well over half of our guys are upperclassmen, and Coach Carter has the freedom to sculpt his team to his liking by piecing together promising recruiting classes with so much turnover coming up. At least that's the long-term goal. For now, our short-term ambition is figuring out our replacements for the 5 seniors we have walking out the door come springtime, including 3 starters. AJ Ali is our top returning scorer, he's leaving. Hassan Rivera, our small forward, and Vishawn Pollard, our starting point man. So grabbing forward depth will also be important with not only the point guards who are leaving. Our only real rotational big man is Fabian Swanson, the former JUCO transfer. But the 3 graduating point guards where we have to do most of our work. Our starter, Vishawn Pollard, and our backups, Nick Nystrom and Vernell Didion, will all need replacements, so perhaps 3 guards and 2 forwards would be a good start in divvying up these scholarships. And keep in mind, we also have volume shooter Preston Murphy off the bench, and if he doesn't crack the starting 5 this season, he's pretty much guaranteed to step into the spotlight with the departure of Hassan Rivera next season. So let's jump a couple weeks into the future now. Coach Carter has concluded his countrywide search for talent and has 10 high school seniors on his board that we will be discussing today. And the number 1 prospect is Elijah Moss, a 6'1" point guard from Tarmac, Florida. Moss is the highest ranked kid on our board, coming in at a 4-star caliber and is the 27th ranked point man in the country. The thing that catches your eye is the second you walk into a gym with Moss in it is the competitive fire he possesses. He's not just some flashy passer or showstopper, he loves to win, and that includes being the first guy to hop on a deflected pass or having the guts to step in the lane and take a charge. And that fearlessness makes him a very rugged defender. But Moss also has a great mix of brains and bronze. He can play, no doubt about that. In 24 minutes of contest, he posted a line of 9.5 points, a whopping 7 assists, and 2 steals during the course of his senior season. Not only is his floor high to be a day 1 starter, but his ceiling is also high as well, with a projected B+ potential rating. He's got a super tight handle with the rock, and he uses an extensive catalog of moves to create for not only himself, but for his teammates as well. Some negatives for Moss: he's a slightly below average athlete. He's got some good quickness when he's got to move for a purpose, but his straight line speed isn't plus or anything. And heading into the season, we currently don't have a read yet on his priorities as a recruit, but we're gonna have to contact him more for that. But his number 1 team is Miami U, so it looks like he at least wants to stay somewhat close to home as one of his priorities, with South Florida in the mix as well. So getting him come to New York City to play for Fordham may be a long shot. We're currently 3rd in his crystal ball though, but we do have some catching up to do. Moving on to number 2 is Dustin Black, a 6'2" point guard from upstate Pennsylvania. With only 2 out of the 3 senior point guards we have leaving actually seeing ample playing time, we can't afford to use a scholarship on someone that might be better fitted at the 2 guard in college. We don't have to use all 3 on point guards, because Vernell Didion didn't really play this season, or isn't projected to. And Dustin Black is a combo guard that does fit that description, as Black has the potential to be a solid inside-out scorer if he puts in the work. At least C ratings at all 3 shooting levels is a good start, and B+ ability to find his own shot using his dribble makes him even more intriguing. He's someone that may not specialize in anything day 1, but he also doesn't have any glaring weaknesses off the jump either. Even though he's 6'2", he has a really solid block and low post defensive ratings, showing that he could go toe-to-toe with bigger guards inside of the arc. That is, if he does end up playing off guard in college. His handle is going to need to get better, and he's going to have to try to stay on the floor a little bit better as well. He had a couple minor injuries in his high school career, only a D, a durability rating. But Black could be a very sturdy player, and will have some time to smooth out his skills if he moves to the shooting guard position, because Evangelo Higgins, Preston Murphy, and Amir Holiday would all be in front of him on the depth chart at the 2 guard position. Coach Carter may be able to offer Dustin tomorrow morning and score a commit in season. That's how big of a first place lead we have on him, so Black's signature seems very likely for Fordham. Prospect number 3 is someone I will have some highlights for, our first big fella on the board, Kaishon Badiane, a 6'10 center from only a town over, ranked 352nd in the class, 3 stars overall. Badiane is someone Coach Carter would love to score. He's another super high energy player. He moves well at 6'10", and he can dominate the offensive glass even against taller adversaries. It's really a sight to behold after he gets after the rock. When a shot is thrown up, you're going to see for yourself in some of this game tape. It's really impressive. Badiane is someone who also lives to pick up a few scrapes out on the floor, welcoming contact at the rim, drawing 30 free throws in 8 AAU games on his senior year. That's about 2 trips a night to the line every single game. He finished his senior campaign with an eye-opening stat line of 10.5 points on a sparkling 56% shooting, 8 rebounds, 1 steal, and just a hair under 2 blocks per contest. His flaws are coachable too. Even though he's an animal on the offensive glass, he's been susceptible to be getting beat on rebounds near his own bucket. I feel like he excels in crashing for offensive misses because he's just so gritty and aggressive. He's ruthless inside, but when an opponent shoots instead and he's got to find a body and box out instead of immediately hitting the boards and locating the ball, he struggles a little bit. He's also a pure inside scorer without much of a back to the basket game. You can see him drive to the goal facing up from time to time, but a reason why his field goal percentage was so efficient was most of his points were on putbacks in his senior year. The highest priority of all is to get good coaching for Badiane. You can tell he's a young man who is a selfless player who wants to get better, and he seems like a piece that can change a losing culture. But it'll be hard to snag him away from St. John's and fellow A10 teams like St. Joe's and UMass. I personally am in love with this kid, and Coach Carter will have to work some magic to make this race competitive down the stretch. Number 4 on Carter's board is 63rd ranked Cristian Fairing, a 6'9 center who hails from New Britain, Connecticut. And as you see to the right of his hometown right here, Fairing was Connecticut's Mr. Basketball, a very impressive feat for a recruit with 3 stars next to his name. There's no doubt the front court will need a scoring punch with AJ Ali and Hassan Rivera moving on, and Fairing checks all the boxes to become a weapon inside the arc. His per 40 minute stats, or I guess per 30 minute stats since we're playing on 15-minute halves in this series, are very salivating. He's someone that makes most of his playing time, and you're going to know when he's on the floor, with 10 points, 6.5 rebounds, and a block and a half as his line, and only 19 minutes average per outing on his senior campaign. And he's so polished on offense for being an 18-year-old. He's very comfortable scoring over either shoulder in the post when he puts his back to the basket. And he also doesn't mind putting the ball on the deck a little bit to present himself a better scoring option. And he even hit 4 threes on 11 tries his senior year, showing the potential at least to develop an outside jumper. He's so much fun to watch operate on O overall. The question marks start popping up on his decision making and defense. He did block 12 shots on the year, so over 1 a game, but he also averaged near 4 fouls a game. His IQ is pretty low on the defensive end, and perhaps his low minutes per game at only 19 a contest had to do with some foul trouble here and there. That's definitely a glaring weakness. Fairing seems like a homebody. His only wish as a recruit is to stay close to his stomping ground, with Fordham staying close behind in contact. As we see Rutgers, UConn, Providence, and Boston College, they lead the race for Connecticut's Mr. Basketball. It'll definitely be a tall order to try to snag him from these major conference teams, with the Scarlet Knights already sending Fairing an offer. The 6th prospect that Coach Carter has on his board is 3-star point player Grant Namick from Trenton, New Jersey. Clocking in at 6'1", Namick is a still relatively unknown prospect. We only have a handful of core attributes figured out at this point, but the info that Coach Carter does have leaves him pretty eager to learn more about Namick. He is a tempo-pushing guard with B+ speed unlocked and A- athleticism in the grade section. You're getting someone who seems to fit the mold of the athletic, run-you-out-of-the-gym attack that Coach Carter is preparing to use in order to put up points with this inferior roster. I also dig the C grades for both strength and layup. Perhaps this is a sign that Namick has some explosiveness and some ability to get to the goal and finish through contact. But at this point in time, there's not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to Namick. However, we've been in contact and found out that Namick's priorities are to get early playing time and to get good coaching. We're in pretty good position to grab him, with Fordham pacing Drexel, Lafayette, Delaware, and Yale. Yale's on his board. Perhaps Namick's got a brain on him too. Ranked 7th on our target board is Henry Boyden, a 6'7" wing player from Michigan with a fairly impressive 166th ranked in the class. Boyden can present some interesting traits to an offense at the next level. He seems to have the scoring ability to keep in a rotation for all 4 years of his career. He combines a C+ layup with a C+ vertical and some above average dunk ratings to boot, implying that he may beat you inside the painted area by going over you instead of around you. Combine that with a mid-range shot coming in at the B tier and a still improving 3-point shot, Boyden seems like he could become a guy who does a little touch of everything on the offensive end. He also has plus steal and block ratings for a 3-star prospect, meaning that he may excel playing defense one pass away while using his eyes to read the entire court. He seems like a better off-ball defender than on. His man-to-man defense should need some work at only a low C grade, and Boyden's top and only priority, and his contact with his interested school list is pretty interesting. His number one want is to see the court from the get-go. He wants PT out of the gate, but the Michigan native's top school is Michigan State. And honestly, if he's feeling the Spartans, and if Michigan State can promise him playing time, Coach Carter may want to end this race before it even gets started. I mean, how can he compete with Michigan State giving him playing time? Fordham is number 8, but the disparity between us and Wisconsin and Green Bay at number 2 is so small, it does leave us some hope if something goes wrong in Michigan State's recruiting hopes to secure Henry Boyden. We're going to stay perched up in the Great Lakes region for our 7th ranked interest, a 7-foot junior college athlete, a well-regarded one too, named Curtis Michaud. A 3-star caliber player, Michaud hails from Southfield, Michigan, which is about 15 minutes northwest of Detroit, and looks to make the jump to D1 ball with 3 years of eligibility remaining. Michaud may not be as refined on day one as some other 3-star centers, but with that 7-foot, 250-pound build, that's a frame you just can't teach as a coach. And his upside is definitely a plus. And he seems like he knows how to throw his weight around on offense better than defense. Even though he does have some active hands and some traits showing that he could become a decent rim watcher, his post defense is not where it should be, and Michaud mostly struggles with his footwork and positioning when covering more skilled big fellas. He's a better rebounder on offense rather than defense, and every offensive skill we know has some promise. We've identified some high C's for his scoring ratings, awareness, and his consistency as well. On a Fordham team with only one player above 6'9", and keep in mind that one player is someone who won't see much action, he's 11th in our rotation right now, Michaud would be a breath of fresh air for the front court. Bowling Green currently leads the races for Michaud's services at this point in time, with Fordham at number 6, with some making up to do. Prospect number 8, Tony Michaud, a point guard located out of Greeley, Colorado with a 3-star caliber next to his name. Michaud has a pretty unique skill set. He seems to be a pure pass first point with a pretty impressive knack in finding guys, especially in close quarters. He's got a really good feel with his passes with a rare knack to thread needles, unlike any other point guard we've seen today. His ball handling won't blow you away, but it is enough to create the angle to zip passes to his companions. Michaud is also a guard who can rebound a little bit, putting up nearly 3 boards a game as a 6'1" senior to go along with his 6 points and 2.5 assists in 15 minutes a game. Michaud has a lot to improve on, however, if he wants to pursue a starting role in college. He didn't start all the games in his AAU team his senior year. He also didn't have the smartest shot selection. He took 16 threes this season, so 2 threes a game, and he only made 3 of them. And that really hurt his percentages. He shot 14 for 37 from the field in his senior year, so 37% field goal shooting. But if you wipe away all of his 3-point attempts, he would have shot 11 for 21, so 52% this season inside of the arc. So that is a pretty impressive mark without the 3-pointers. I mean, 52% on 2s. Michaud does have some skills inside of the arc. And his numbers won't jump out at you, but as you can see, he is a player where you have to look at the numbers between the numbers, and he starts to become a lot more eye-opening as a prospect. He probably won't be a day one starter, but his vision combined with his B potential rating, I think Michaud is a low floor but a very high ceiling player. Playing time is his first and only priority, with Fordham ranking in at number 4 in his crystal ball at the moment. We trail schools closer to his home in Air Force, New Mexico, and Colorado State, as the CSU Rams have already offered. I ended up slimming down the board to 9 for the time being. Our 9th ranked prospect looked like he was getting ready to commit to Michigan State already, and we were 8th on his list, so I already took him off the board, and we're going to finish at number 10 with Demetrius Massey, a junior college sophomore with 2 years of eligibility left in D1 ball. Massey is a 5'10" point guard from Elgin, Illinois, who seems to have some very good skills as a control man for the offense. He's an experienced and very poised player. He doesn't try to do too much like many other young guards, and is a team-first guy. He also has some good moves by getting by bigger players to set up his skillful finishes at the rim. Putting the ball on the deck is where Massey is most comfortable. He's also a good free throw shooter and seemed to be a lead by example kind of guy. Some weaknesses are his below average athleticism. By D1 standards, you want a guard under 6 feet to have some wheels, and it doesn't look like that's the case with Massey. He's a serviceable defender, but should work on polishing up his skills on that side of the ball moving forward, and his offensive output seems to be capped inside of 15 feet. He can hit a 3 every once in a while, but at only 5'10" and not being the quickest player, you have to question how he'll do getting a shot off against the speed of the game in Division I ball. Alright guys, so that brings the end of our prospect preview show for season 1. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Took a lot of time putting that together, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And throughout the entire course of the season, we finished an episode a little bit early. I'll try to show you guys some more updates on the recruiting. If we take some guys off our board to replace them with other guys, I'll give you guys the rundown on the new players on the board. I didn't do a good enough job of that in the UT Martin series following the recruiting races throughout the season, so I definitely want to do a better job in that here in the Fordham series. So looking to opening day, Coach Carter used the 2.5 weeks he had to prepare for Syracuse, hopefully to his benefit, as we take on the Orange Men to begin a brand new series of Coach Carter Legacy Mode action. Syracuse is 10 points overall better than us, and even though they are unranked heading into the season, obviously you can't look past that. Syracuse, a Big East school, it looks like it's going to be a tune-up game for them, but if we can at least stay competitive, that's going to be a big win for this team. So that'll be the end of episode 2 of the Coach Carter College Hoops 2K Legacy Mode featuring the Fordham Rams. Hope you guys are excited for the season opener, upstate New York in Syracuse. We'll try to stay competitive with the Orange Men. So stay tuned for that and more on the channel. This is College Sports Revived signing out. Peace, guys.